Hello. Everyone.
Hello,
Wo kann ich löschen?
hier beim Chat.
Hi.
VC
Aber es ist
minus.
nix.
Hi, Christina. How are you?
Really good. Always busy. I'm sorry, I was 1 minute late, but of course Windows decided to update and
Of
blocked the
course,
computer for the last 20 minutes. Yeah.
But now it's updated and it will work.
Yeah. So from now on, everything will be serious. So just to give a brief introduction of who I am and what we do at Layout. Layout is a software that allows for automation of design of offices. So we work at the moment, we did projects in 34 countries across the world, pretty much every continent apart from Antarctica. We are still looking forward to meet someone that works there. And the way it works is pretty much like an automation that allows you to simply generate floor plans based on the requirements that you get from a customer. And we are 3.5 years old, 12 people currently, and quite international, 7 nationalities. We are pretty much across Europe. We have the Germans, German, Italian, of course, Dutch, Polish. We have pretty much Indian. So from different nationalities, based in Norway. But yeah, we are quite across Europe in general. So we are quite a remote first company. So we use multiple offices. So we design offices for other people's, but we use offices from different companies. And I sent you the invite to all of you. So all of you will be able to test. And this session is for all of you. All of you have access. So all of you can try to use the app. Your username and password is private to you. So all of you can have access whenever you want. And it is pretty much unlimited users and usage. So in reality, within your account and within the floor plans that you have, you can generate as many options as you want. Of course, the positioning of Layout is not that you pretty much go from 0 to the final detailing of a design, but you can actually go from 0 to 70%, 80% in some cases, in which you can show a design to a client, and this one can be done in a few minutes. Sorry, 1 second. I don't know. And after that, you can simply share it with the customer to just design things together. Usually, the way workshop works is like one of you will share the screen, one of you that will be the bravest of you all, and they can start to share the screen and use the app. But I mean, I can do it also myself, but usually it's more worth it if one of you uses the app, because then you can see how does it feel. So up to you, how do you feel?
Are there any volunteers that have a link? Who has a link? Because that's important, I think. I don't have one. I'm not a brave one.
I mean, I'm just suggesting because usually it works better if one of you that is using for the first time sees how does it feel to click and use the app. Because of course I'm a bit faster at this stage. I'm a bit faster than you. The idea is like during this call you can get and become faster as much as me, if not more, possibly.
You mean the login in the account? Sorry,
yes.
I can do it if I have the data.
Yeah, everything pretty much like you can just log in. You just need to put a password because the email is the one you used for the invite.
So I share my screen, right? So where
yes.
do I? Yeah.
Is a green button in the bottom at the bottom.
Yeah, freigeben. So gesamte Windows. I'm not sure. No. Yes. Okay. 1 moment with Mac.
Oh.
Let me see if it works.
So we will see otherwise.
Can you see it?
Yes, yes, it works.
Okay. So
now you just need to register, of course. You just put your name as you can choose. And then a password that, of course, it will not. It will be your own password, but I don't think anyone else can see it. So.
Okay. So. Okay.
Yeah, it has to be more difficult. I think it's.
2 or more special characters. Okay.
I honestly I don't remember. I use a password. I just don't remember. Okay. Yeah, you can just skip now. Pretty much there will be a few tutorials. So all of you, when you log in the first time, you will get a few tutorials on things. But of course, Jacqueline, in your case, I'm doing it to you. So you don't really need a tutorial for this. You can skip. So this one I will draw. Can you all draw? Can you all see my drawing if I draw?
Yes.
Okay, tabs. So this one is your dashboard. So everything that you have here is like your starting point. And every line, so workshop is one, layout as floor plan is another one. Those are your projects. So you can create new projects, just clicking here on the top right. So if you click there 1 second, you can type a building name, a project name, anything that you really want. And then, yes, location can be an address of the building, can be a city of the building, pretty much everything that you really want. And this one, if you click on create, this one will create a new row. And this one is pretty much like how do you structure the files. Now, if you go inside the layout as floor plans, please. So on top of the floor plans that we uploaded for you, there are also like, yeah, you can skip here. They're also like other floor plans. Those are floor plans from different parts of the world. It's just because they're added on top if you want to test different scenarios, just the different shapes of the buildings and so on, different sizes of a building. Those are here for you to test. They're all included. And it's mostly because sometimes it's easier to learn and practice on also different shapes, not just one. If you want to test the different ones, it's all included. Then once you're here, you can see that, for example, if for the workshop, we start with this one. So this is a simple one, and it's always better because it's simpler to use. So if you click on the 3 dots here on the top right of each card, you see there are some settings. So rename, favorites, setting. So if you click on setting, this is something you can do on any floor. So if you have an occupancy that you know that there is a maximum occupancy on a certain floor, this case, you can put 150, 120, for example. So you can type what is the maximum value that you want the algorithm to place, not the request from your client. But if you know that that building, that floor cannot stand more than 120 people for fire emergency or so on, you can just type it. So the algorithm will never place more than that. It's the ceiling for the algorithm. So if you click submit, it will just set up this to be your maximum occupancy. So if now you enter inside this floor, please. Yeah, you can skip. The first time is always like that. So you will start to see the floor plan. On the top right, you get the gross external area. So if you hover your mouse on that text, it will show the gross external area. So the footprint of the building or the net area. So you can visualize very quickly how are the areas and, for example, where can you physically walk. Right now, of course, we didn't generate anything. So all these values here are empty. There's nothing inside. It's an empty floor. There's no number of people, no efficiency, and so on. So if you go on the right side, there is the burger. What the tech people call burger are the 3 lines. And if you click on the 3 lines on the left side, yep, this will open the preferences. So those are the requirements that the client will send to you. So a brief, a program, I don't know how you call it in every language, has a different name, but you see that here, maximum occupancy is 120, is what you set before. at the beginning of the test. And this number is the one that you put. So this company requested, for example, 120 people. So you can type a value there.
Can I ask a question?
Of course, any point in time. Sorry for everyone, I forgot to say. If you have questions, feel free to ask.
The gray area, the designated circulation space, basically, that's shown on the plan.
Yeah.
Is that something we have to put in, or is something the program puts in?
So yes, it's a very good question, and the idea was to go there later, but I can do it right now. So good question. So in reality, this one is fundamental for the algorithm. So you need to have a baseline, because the algorithm doesn't know otherwise where do you enter rooms, for example. It has to have some, let's say, the spine of the building. And of course, you can change it. But for example, if you click, Jacqueline, if you click here on circulation, you see that now this one is activated. So you can physically, if you zoom in, you can see the circle. So if you click inside the circle and you drag, you can change the dimension, the diameter of the corridor. So you have some corridors are 1.2 meters, some corridors are like 1.5. If you want to can make a very big corridor and so on. As you see, so the circle is the one that allows you to change the dimension, but then you can drag and drop. Drag and drop. You can drag it and move it. You can, of course, create new ones. So for example, if you click on the white space, so wherever the space is white, and click and hold, you can draw a new one. And you have this perpendicular, so you see the projections of the line. That helps you to understand where you can draw the line. What are the perpendiculars? Yes, exactly. You're doing great. So you can change all the time. So my suggestion is this one. You can have a starting point that is something that you can upload, but then of course you can change the corridor and test the different scenarios. And does it make sense? Double click to delete.
One additional question. If I want to position the corridor, I don't know, 5 meter, 0.5 from the facade.
It's a good question. So right now, this is something that usually you upload. So if you upload the file, so if you upload the corridor in the file, that is of course staying there. This is only usually, I can tell you, usually we upload a file for customers where the position is always like 5-6 meters. So you need to also include the space. But usually, if you upload a file with that, it will be there. It will be placed in the position where you leave it. And then, of course, you can change.
And I upload, of course, the file with the information of the core, of the facade, and probably of a defined position of the corridor, right? And that's it. The rest is empty, of course, because then we have the details to, okay. Thank you.
Exactly. No problem, Tiziana. It's a pleasure. Like, of course, please ask questions. I'm here for this reason. So exactly what you see.
One additional question.
Please.
Actually, the starting point of each project obviously will be to import the file and to define those different areas. Where is the core? Where is the facade? Is it something you're going to show us as well? Because it would be very helpful really to start at the start with importing the plan and then continuing with really doing the fit out.
Yeah, so what I can share with you, after this call, I will send you both this recording, but also I can send you a link to the guidelines. The guidelines will show you existing, so before and after of files. So we use 6 layers, I think 6 or 8 layers in total. And those are like just pretty much the basic lines to help the upload. So we have customers that use the layout and they just use this system for uploading the files. But we also help companies. So for example, like we have companies that we upload the files for you. So we do the QA of the files for you. You just, we receive, for example, some areas, like for example, we want the corridors to be in a certain position. We want to have some walls to be preserved. So that is an example of the way we usually work. So But yeah, I will share with you later on. So after the call, I will share with you this link so you can all see what are the guidelines. And Jacqueline, so if this one is the corridor that you want, you can decide to save it, or you can just generate this one. So if you save, it will be stored. So you can actually, you will see it later on the app. Now, if you click on the preferences, so here you can type the number of people. How many people do you have in your floor? I mean, what is the request from your customer? Of course, if the customer asks 150 people and the floor can have a maximum 120, it will show an error, exactly. So you will see that there is an error. That's why you need to know, for example, a bit of the building before. Then by default, they will all go in open spaces by default. But if you click on closed offices, so if you click on this tab, it will open a sub menu.
Quick question. It
Please.
says number of workstations because you just said how many people. That might be a different thing.
Yes,
right?
so normally, yes, of course, you can have a lot more because, for example, if you consider meeting rooms, you can have 500 meeting rooms and people could sit there eventually. So the base is a workstations, but then I can show you that you can edit things. And of course, usually we work with metrics based on the workstations, but the number of people you can also check with one click. You can see how many seats you have in total on the entire floor.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. So once you're here, if you hover your mouse in plus, you can see that you can create a small, medium, large, extra large offices. So medium, or the last one is a star, is for custom. If you have a specific, like you want to try to ask a specific number with a specific ratio that is not allowed. So if you have a small is for 1 to 2 people, medium 3 to 4, large 5 to 10, etc., etc. So you have these brackets. And when you click on this arrow on the left side, it will open a sub-menu where you can simply say, I don't want 1, I want for 2 people. Or you can define the area per room or area per person. Again, depends where you are in the world, you have different rules. And different rules are, for example, some companies work with area per person, some companies work with area per room. So you can say, and of course, changing this value, as you were doing now, Jacqueline, will change the other one because it's just a pure mathematics. So if you have the number that you set up there, will change the area per person, the area per room as well. Does it make sense? Okay, so here, this button here is a range. Sometimes there are, we work with companies in many different geographies. So sometimes they have ranges for rooms. So if you click on that one, it will display a range. You see, you have a range between a minimum and maximum square meters per room, and you can also adjust it with the area. So, of course, you can request different values that you want, and this will adapt to the building itself. So in reality, you can set these values and see. Here, you define how many people, how many rooms of that type you want. So you can add, you can reduce. This one is not a big office, so of course it will not have 1 million people, but it is just to give you an idea. So the same, you can of course add here on the plus more typologies. So the way it works is like on the plus you can add. So for example, you can have a small office for 2 people, small office for 1 person, small office for 1 person bigger. So you can create all the combinations you want. In reality, and the AU, this one is because we have cases in which customers want to just very quickly get an understanding of how many people can we fit. So we need 20 people in closed offices. The algorithm will place 20 people with different combinations, but it's more like automated. It's not following, of course, the same strict criteria that you are setting up when you add on the plus. So you have different ways to approach this. AU is more generic. So if you want to be generic, AU, automated, is the way to go. if you go on the specific, of course, that is a different type of approach. So you can choose the same process. Sorry.
Can I ask something?
Of course.
Can we work with data which is, for example, created by Spacive and import that and just have the list of offices we have or we shall have at the end? Is that possible?
You
know that we are working with Spacive sometimes, and they somehow create or calculate the number of offices and meeting rooms and things like that. And can we just put it, just import it and work with it?
So at the moment, we don't have the import function, but for example, what I want to say is like you can create here, replicate what you get, for example, on an Excel file, for example. And with this button here, for example, you're testing 2 buildings, you can copy. On the top right, you have the copy button. You can copy the settings. So you do the settings once and you can test, for example, 3 buildings. That is another case, for example. You can replicate the same settings you put once. You can replicate in multiple buildings. We have some clients that are testing 3 buildings for the same company. And of course, it's always the same request. So instead of doing 3 times, you do it once. And then you just copy in 3 different floors and you can test on 3 different floors.
Okay, thank you.
So we are working on next year, actually, we are going to work on this upload, but it is something that we have to postpone. We had quite a few things to deploy by the end of the year. So we are a bit squeezed, but we are getting quite a lot of things that are quite cool. Then if you click on meeting rooms, and it will open up here. You see that there are other typologies. So it's the same process that you do for closed offices, works for meeting rooms, and works for breakout spaces. If you want to remove, like for example, extra large is necessary for the space, you can just, or if you hover on extra large, it will show a minus sign. So if you hover on the extra large, there is a minus. You click there, and there just removes it. So you can very quickly add or remove. And of course, you can go into the nitty-gritty detail of opening every single tab, adjust them based on your needs. And then you can go, for example, if now go into advanced, so let's say the rest is fine. If you go into advanced on the top, here is where you can choose the workstation. So by default, I already know the questions that are going to appear here. So every number that you see, I know it's like I'm an architect as well. I spent a bit of time in the space, so I know already what the people usually ask. So you can change every number here. Every number that you see can be changed. The clearance, I know that in Germany is different, so you can create your own sets of clearance. The clearance is just a space behind the desk. How much space do you need to move your chair, push it back? You can change these values, and I can show you now how. And you can choose one of the 3 sets. So usually on a company level, normally companies, so far in 3 years, the companies always like 1, 2, or 3 sets. And so usually they set the 3 dimensions, and they usually always test with the same ones. So what I can show you, you can just, for example, choose one, and I will show you now how to change it, of course. And then you see daylight constraints, those are on. So you actually you know that the workstations and work areas will only be placed on the area close to windows. So after 5 meters, they will not be placed. So you have roughly 5 to 6 meters is the range. After that, it will not be placed any area. So this area here will never have work areas unless you switch it off. So for example, when we work in the UK, of course, the UK don't have rules. So you can pretty much switch it off, and it goes all the way across the building. So I can show you also, this one is a safety setting. So even if you make a mistake later and you select an area you want to change it, it will show as white, as empty, because it will remind you, hey, you cannot place workstations there if daylight constraints are on. Then area measurements is for the areas that you see here. This building is in the UK. So if you switch to GIF, it will measure the areas in a different way.
Just one question.
Please.
The workstations are going to be placed close to the windows, and the other areas here we picked, so meeting rooms, breakout maybe, are they going to be placed also there or also in the middle?
Both. So a meeting room can be outside. So there is a difference between has to be and can be. A meeting room can be next to a window, but it doesn't have to be, because a meeting room can be also where there's no light. While in this case, when you switch on the light constraint, you have to have work areas, so closed and open space next to windows. It's a difference. So one thing is that you can, and then you have to. That is where there is a difference. And click apply. And then now one thing I want to show, if you go on your initials here, so all of you can have access to your company settings. So if you go on profile, here you have your company settings. So I uploaded the logo of your company I found. If you have a better one, feel free to replace it. I did my best to find a good one. On the right side here, you can invite other users. So I try to add everyone. There is here the people that when you see the name, it means that they registered. So you can invite more people if you want. And if you click on invite, it will appear. You can choose between member. You just have to type the email address. You can choose between member and member and admin. Difference is admins can invite other people, member cannot invite other people, and members cannot change settings of the company. Like they cannot put, for example, Indian rupees as a currency, for example. Those are things that of course everyone will see. So if you click on the X, here, those are just the basic settings, metric, imperial, depends where you work. If you work mainly in Germany, I think a metric is fine, but other people work in other fun ways, so you can change. Then presets, if you click on the left, and you click on furniture. So here is where you can change all the values of the workstations. You will see what happens with the rest, but workstation is we are designing offices, so it's quite an important element in the design of offices. So you can type values. You see below there are ranges, minimum and maximum that can be set. In India, we do also offices with a 65 centimeters clearance, but it's not for every country. And actually, India is our biggest market so far. So it is quite an interesting world. The other day, I was helping designing an office for 700 people. It was a quite dense one, quite a dense one. And so every number that you change here, so you can replace every number here, and you can see the preview here where numbers are changing. So you can see and display the spaces. Yes, okay. So when you hover on top of it, so if you hover on that one, it will show like the 1.20 meters. So in this way, you can always see how things are. So remember that this change will be seen by everyone. So every time any one of you in the company will open the preferences, they will see what you're doing now, Jacqueline. So if you do strange numbers, everyone will use the strange numbers. So it's a bit of you have a responsibility here.
And can I add also another ones, or you are just this is the maximum?
No. So this one at the moment are those options. We are going to add in the new year. Actually, we're working to add the single pieces, like for example, a desk made by Technion, a desk made by Vitra, and that of course it has one dimension. It will be a fixed one. You will be able to choose more types. But yeah, at the moment, usually, at least so far, we have seen with all the companies have 3 sets used as a base. They usually don't have more, but it is you can choose, of course, you can change.
Mm-hmm.
And also, as you said, like when we are changing something there, everybody is going to see it. So it's changed for the whole company.
Yeah.
Like in case someone wants to try, obviously we always have 100 centimeters, so 1,000 millimeters distance or clearance. But if someone tries some other clearance, is it going to change all the test fits we have made? Or
only if you refresh, only if you refresh. So if you're your session, so if you're using in your session, you set one value and you generate on that value, it will be for you. But of course, for other people, if they use the different setting, will be a different setting. So in general, I can tell you, like, so far, everyone always set their settings for company, because they is just simply like settings that you have on a company level. It's kind of every company has their own standards of quality standards, what they provide and so on. So usually it's not very different. That's why we didn't have so many different cases. But this is just to give an example of what you can do. So, and company table. So if you go on company table on the top here, this one is a preview. So this one, it gives you a bit of help. So whenever you upload a floor plan, if it fits within these brackets, it will have this information. So if you upload a floor plan that has a 1,000 plus square meters, it will have one small breakout space, two medium breakout spaces, and so on. This is not mandatory. We usually add this one because we learned from the usage we had in the years. Roughly, given when you upload a floor plan of 1,000 square meters, for example, usually people set the vast majority as an average these kind of settings. So it's mostly for you when you start on the preferences. If you remember, when you open the preferences, there were already some things set up there. It's just because we give you this help to speed up the process, but then you can change it. Of course, it's up to you if you want to. You can delete all of them and start over. It's just not to have the blank settings at the beginning. It's just to give you some help based on the data that we have. So last design style, this is a preview, but it will happen in the next year. Those are, you can subdivide the space based on percentages. So you can create your own cards and you can say, okay, I want a 40% open space, 20% closed offices, and then just generate automatically based on these settings. So that will be something we are going to deploy next year. And it's mostly based on given a net area, subdivide the space in these percentages. So I want 40%, it will place 40%. Of course, you will always have to say if it's if you have daylight constraints or not, because we don't know that. And of course, based on that, you can just change the settings, but this will be helping you in the future. Then zones and colors. Here is pretty much like the settings for your floor plan. Those are your company colors. Every company has their own standard colors. And of course, I don't know your own standard colors, but if you want, you can change every single code of colors. And what you can do is very quick. So you can, for example, blue for a layout is open space. You can click. So if you click on this blue, or yes, you can click there as well, but you can also click directly on the floor plan. So it's even, you can do both, it doesn't change. You can click on the extra code. And if you click, it will have the display. You can change live the colors, and this will be displayed for all the company. That's why I wrote you in the email, like it's something you can set on a company level. You can do it once, and then everyone else will get, every time someone will generate a floor plan, we'll have the set colors. It is pretty much like it's straightforward. Every company has their own colors. So we have our favorite colors, these the layout ones, but of course, every company will have their own. This means every time you generate a floor plan, every time you export a floor plan, every time you share a floor plan with someone else, they will see what you did. They will see what you did. They will get exactly the colors based on your standards. So if you like these colors, you can just click on save. And you just pretty much save, and these colors will be stored, and everyone else will be able to use them. Last but not least, materials and cost. This one depends if it's something that you use. So we are going to add the next week something 100 more of these lines, but pretty much this allows you to set the cost in terms of CO2 and cost in terms of euro. How much does it cost? 1 meter of partition wall, 1 meter of glass wall, 1 square meter of floor. You can set the values, and based on that, we quantify how much does it cost the building that you're designing, the floor that you're designing. So we quantify how many doors, chairs, tables, how many partition wall meters of partition walls. Based on that, we tell you this building with this floor will cost 1 million euro, example, and not very, quite often very close to reality, but it is depends by the floor.
Can we,
So-
Christian, sorry, can we redefine the cost blocks? Like, for example, can we put the doors into this first block, or at maybe a technical block, because we have, I don't know, the Kostengruppen in Germany. And so maybe we can adapt more this list to the German Kostengruppen.
So it is not right now, but it is actually good feedback. So if you write me down the way it works for you, we can look into that. In general, this one is more like a table to give you an understanding of the space. Doors in this case are not the existing doors. It's like, for example, if you add the meeting room, it will have add one door. So it's a new built things, not existing elements of the, like a technical door, like emergency exit door.
But
So
here it's still not a furniture position. It's a position of architecture.
I mean, we can move it. It's literally, that is probably the easiest request I received this part of the year. So it is a fairly.
Wait, we are not finished yet. So
don't worry, don't worry.
Yeah.
I can tell you, like, I have about 250 requests. So it is quite a long list. So I'm sure one of them will be added, but I will tell you later for this one. It's okay. So no problem. If you click on the plus on the X, pretty much once you set.
If you stay a short moment there, I have an additional question.
Back. Please, of course.
Perfect. When you showed the different zone colors, you could see that, like, how the workplaces are positioned. My question is regarding the clearance, because, like, in Germany, we do have the 1 meter clearance for the working area. But then additionally to that, there is escape route that is necessary between the workplaces.
Yeah, I unfortunately know I have to read the German regulations. It's not very fun. There are better books to read, I would say. Yeah, so at the moment we next week, actually on Monday, there will be a new feature that is actually like the ruler and so on. So the algorithm itself doesn't take into account the specific of the escape space. So I know that it's similar for other countries you have in Germany. So at the moment, it doesn't take into account every single spacing, because of course the German regulation is a bit unique, I would say, is a bit unique on that matter. But yeah, it is something we're working on. So I know that what you mean. At the moment, is usually like you can define, for example, wider. My advice is usually you can set a wider clearance. And then based on that, you actually can see how to space things around. So the idea of layout is, sorry.
The only thing is, like, the clearance or the escape route, it has a different size depending on the amount of
where
people.
You are.
So yeah.
Yeah. I read that it's a complicated one. Yes.
Can I put also a corridor, like this corridor line on the facade, like 40 centimeters, 50 centimeters? So it obeys our rules for distancing the facade, for example. Would that work? Like, is a workaround?
So
okay.
So we also have the additional rule that the tables are not allowed to stand directly at the facade, but we have to have a distance of 60 centimeters.
Yeah,
I mean,
if I put this other one we made with the corridor, would that work also, or no?
I'm not so sure. I mean, one thing you could do usually, there is another trick over there. Like there are, like, you can put radiators. And for example, radiators allow you to create this setback. That is a trick that some companies use. Otherwise, I tell you very honestly, like it takes 1 second. You can move all of them together. So in reality, in general, like the layout of the algorithm builds everything very quickly, but then you always have the functionality to replace things and move things very quickly. So in reality, it depends where you spend your time. So for example, if I show you a floor plan, for example, the floor plan you sent me is 3,000 plus square meters, Jacqueline. And that floor is generating something like 10 seconds. moving like an entire row of desk, it takes something like 2 seconds. In the bigger scheme of things, it depends. It's a different type of. It's different when you plan in this way. That is what I meant. So
let's try.
But it is, yeah, absolutely. Like first thing I would say try, and then you can, of course, think. And I take notes of these things. So of course, if you click on the X, and then just click on the layout logo here. So this one is, I think, 2 seconds or something. You get the first options. And if you click again, every time you click, you get another set of 3. So the idea of the initial step is that this one is to give you different combinations. So you can click as many times as you want, and every time you click, you get another set of 3. Reason why we don't create 500 options at a time is because if you have to look through 500 options at a time, it is a bit of time. And so the idea is this one. In the moment in which now, for example, you take your mouse, you just hover without clicking, and you start to move on the right side, all the data here is updated. So you start to see that actually all the numbers are changing because we provide a different type of, so we allow the algorithm to be flexible and to start to move things around. So in reality, if you move one room from one space to another one, you can actually very quickly change the space. So you can see that, for example, you get the number of workstation, the area per employee, the efficiency of the floor, the carbon footprint, and the cost. This cost and this information are all based on the data that you have in each floor. These icons here, so the little icons in the corners guide you through the options. So this one, the green ones are lowest cost, lowest carbon footprint. The blue one is the highest, the most spacious one. So this one has more space. This one is the more dense. Those are not the final step. Those are like just the intermediate step where you actually can start from one value compared to another one, depending on the targets that you have. And of course, at each one of them, you can see what are these numbers here, or the percentage of occupancy. And let's say, I mean, just as an example, you can start from this option here. Like, let's go for the lowest cost. We are very cheap. We try to save money on here. And when you start here, first of all here, if you click on there, you get the areas. Then the second button gives you the dimensions. Third one goes back to furniture. And the fourth one goes to 3D. So you can one click create a 3D from something that didn't exist a few seconds ago. You can spin around, and you can even, like, if you go closer and you move your mouse, for example, where is the corridor? You can double click. Exactly. No, you did very well. So you can see, you can move around. You can use the arrows and move around the office. Again, this one is like a preview. It's in a sense, it's not your final design. Maybe you don't like this kind of carpet, you don't like this kind of chairs and so on, but it's mostly like to get the volumetry, the volumes of the space. So you see where is your cursor, and works exactly as Google Maps. So even when you're inside, you can double click on a corridor and it will take you there. Yes, if you double click there, you can move around and see the corridors and spaces. So then if you click back on 2D, you go back to the 2D. And here is where you can start to edit things. So for example, let's say if you zoom, yeah, that one will bring you back, that will bring you back to the set, to all the options. You can see all the options here on this side. So you can actually very quickly see it here. And once, let's say this area in the bottom is the one that I like the least, for example, you want to change something. And for example, if you zoom in, in the bottom part, for example, let's say you want to change this area and you want to organize it. So you, bless you. So if you click on the area, if you click on the zone, you will see these settings. So if you click on the info button, now you select the 2 areas. So just click wherever is white to deselect. Now you can select. Yep. And then info button here, it will tell you like information about the total number of seats. So it calculates the seats everywhere. You can even select the entire floor and see how many seats in total you have, not only the workstations. the areas and the ratios. This button here, the fourth one there, yeah, you can split. So whenever you want to split a space, you can split and it will recognize the elements of the building. In this case, it will recognize the frames of the windows. So if you click there or wherever you prefer, it will split the space. And now you can, for example, if you click outside and then click back on this one and then split and please split here, for example. You can click outside, click on this one. And then if you change, this button here allow you to change. You can change it to anything else you want. So open workspace, you want to change it to, for example, breakout. And it will replace the area with something else. If you change, for example, to meeting room, do you remember before I was telling you about the quantities of cost, doors, and so on? If you change it to meeting room, for example, it will just allocate people there. Then if you click outside and you zoom in, if you click on the furniture now, you will see that actually you have these new buttons here. This one deletes, this one on the right copies. And the one in the center, if you click and drag, it will increase or decrease the amount of desks. So if you drag it up, hold and drag, yes, it will add. If you go down in the same direction, it will remove. Again, the idea is this one is not that you will need absolutely to use this table. You can use any other shape, but this one is to quantify the space. So how many you can place. And of course, yeah, you can rotate it. It recognizes obstacles. So for example, if you go against the wall, of course, it will recognize that there is a wall. You can move things, click and hold, you can move things around. And of course, in this case, if you release, it will recognize that there is like a table in the middle of a wall. It will remove it. This works for everything. And every time you want, of course, in this case, you can undo. On the top button, you have undo, or you can just what you were doing before. So you can actually just change or refresh the space. You can make it. You can make it in any other topology if you want. Custom is actually whenever you have a space that is not on this list. So if there is a client who wants a server room, we don't design server rooms. Layout wasn't born for that. But you can type anything you want, choose an icon, and the area will be replaced with that icon. This means that actually, like if you have a server, just you can choose an icon. Anything that you like, really. So the area will be replaced. And if you go here, you see that there is now server room over here. So in every change that you make in the app has a direct impact on the full design. And this is actually quite important to notice because every time you do a change, so for example, you see now you have 100 people in total. If you click on this desk and click and drag it outside, like drop it outside 98, the area per employee changed. All the statistics and numbers change. So every time you do a change, it will have a live impact. So you can live change and correct what you're doing. And for example, like, of course, you can change everything. You can add the kitchen, for example. You can add other topologies of elements. You can merge, for example, the top, let's say, you want to change this one to a reception. You can click, click outside, change, and you can do like office services. And then you have like a reception. And this is, of course, sorry?
Question. If I
Please.
add a meeting room, for example, down at the working place where it just were, will it remove the meeting room somewhere else?
No, because otherwise it will be, think about you move it, you add it in a place and then it will remove it from the other. What if you wanted to keep it up there? So in reality, you need, you can see here, if you go in zones, sorry, you see the breakdown. So you can quantify and check, for example, if you see like a meeting space, the quantity that you have. So you can,
Okay, come wieder.
Sorry.
It actually overrules what you put in at the beginning. If you start, working.
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
if you think about it, it's like design, right? Like
Yeah,
usually
no,
when you need to do it.
that was the question. Okay. Yeah. Just to make
No,
sure.
no, no, of course, I'm trying to help, of course. So, of course, it doesn't always what you want to keep, but even in that case, for example, let's say you can select. So, for example, if you select this area, you can do just a rectangular selection. Yep. Yeah, if you select everything, you can use this button here, the lock. So this will lock the selection. So let's say you want to keep this part is your favorite part of the office. So you want to change everything else. You just click on regenerate. So the button generate on the left. And this will give you other combination. Keep modification. You can say yes or no. It doesn't matter because it will just create the 3 new options where the bottom part is the part you froze. Of course, in a small office, if you freeze everything apart from one room, there will not be a lot of options generated, but it depends on the different combinations. And of course, you can use both this generation in which you freeze parts, both doing it manually. Does it help so far?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
Susanna, one more question. We often have
Please.
projects which are bigger than 1 floor. So we have to prove a building. Now we're talking about 1 floor. How does it work with more floors? You were talking about 900 people you were checking last days, you said. How does it work?
That was a 1 floor only.
Okay, great building.
Yeah,
Okay,
it was a very easy. It was a very easy question. That one.
Must be
I did
UK model.
in another case, I can show you another floor in India. The biggest we actually have ever seen, 16,000 square meters in India, just 1 floor, and 4,000 people at the same time. It took 60 seconds to generate. It's the longest generation I've ever seen on this app. I thought it was going to crash, but I mean, it actually worked. So it was surprising also for me. But yes, so if you have multiple floors, usually you just split the program. So you always know anyway, like what is the program. Like, for example, you have the top floor as, for example, for most meeting rooms, a board, and you can organize it in that way. It's difficult for us because usually the vast majority of clients we have work on 1, maximum 2 floors where they quite have their idea of what has to happen in 1 floor or another one. But of course, it depends by the use case. Usually it's 1 floor, vast majority is 1 floor or a part of the floor, so not even all of it. And now, Jacqueline, if you want to, we can go back to your floor plan. So you actually, we can play. If you click on this button, exactly this one goes back to projects. Yeah, I mean, you can save. I can show you later how to save. If you go to workshop. So I wasn't sure, so I will ask you. So we had 2 versions. I saw there were a lot of partitions, so I didn't know if that was because there are different tenants or if it was for different reasons. So we uploaded 2 floors, one without and one with. It's completely up to you. It was actually just for you to play with different solutions, but you can choose the one you prefer, of course. And here again, you get the area, net internal, same process. And you can change the corridor. This is something we had there because we didn't know where do you put the corridor. But again, you can, of course, change the corridor as you prefer. I showed you before. If you want to change, to delete the corridor, it's double click. So if you double click on any corridor, it will remove it. If you make a mistake, again, undo button is always there to help. So the way it works is the same. So I didn't set, in this case, I didn't set the maximum occupancy, but of course, you can go back and change it and set it at the beginning. You can adjust, even go here. For example, you can use this thing to go back 1 step. And in the settings here, you can set what is the maximum, for example. Of course, we don't think there are 10,000 people in that space. Just usually we put a big number, so it's very evident that there is not a limit for that.
Okay. So what do you recommend? Should we use always like a big number, then it generates, or it's best?
So it all honestly it depends. Like for example, like we put a big number as default just because we don't know if there are some cases in which people want to do the max capacity, so to flood the space with people and then remove, or they want to have a very small amount to be sure that is there. It depends by the company to say. So if I go towards Asia, is more about max capacity. So how many people you can fit, it doesn't care how many people actually can live in the space. Europe, apart from the UK, is a bit different, and it's about smaller numbers. But
I have no idea. Milos, how many people were in the project? Is Milos there?
Yes, I'm here, but just a second.
Probably, I have no idea how many.
I think 300, 250. I mean, you can type 300 for, I think 300 should be fine. 1 to 10 ratio, I guess it's should be okay. And then if you click, this one will have the setting in the preferences. So you know that the algorithm will not place more. But if you go and place more, it will give you an alert. So on the right, if you try to manually add more than what the algorithm knows it's your maximum, it will show you and display you a maximum.
Okay. Oh. But if I put 250, then it's not gonna go up, or is this like a limit from?
Is the limit? Is the limit? So the occupancy is, for example, for a fire emergency, you cannot place more than X amount of people due to people that can actually escape the building. So it depends. Those are building regulations usually. So it depends by the building most of the time.
Okay.
So we don't know from our side. We don't know what are the regulations of each single building in the world. That's why this is even not about country regulation. Those are like a building itself. Like if a building is in wood compared to concrete or steel, it has a different ratios that they can hold, and so it's mostly like you can change. You have the settings to control yourself.
Okay. And one question: did you mark the stairs and these areas, or when
Yes.
Okay.
So in reality, when we uploaded the floor, of course, we see we see the CAD file, and I mean staircase are quite easy to recognize. So we mark them as a stairwell. And so that's why you see them marked in this way. So whenever we select, we have an area that we mark, we don't put every single step because, of course, at this level, you don't need the level of detail of knowing how many steps there are on the stair. It's just the area. Because one thing we're working at the moment is actually telling you how far you are from emergency exits. So in case of a fire, for example, you can have different countries have different regulations. Let's say with a sprinkler system, you have 40 or 50 meters, depends where you are in the world. For example, like you have 50 meters to escape, and then it measures automatically from a staircase. So you know that from the door of the stairwell, you need to be within 40 meters, and it will color. We are actually experimenting this now, so it is quite fun to see, but it's still something that it will come live next year.
And this import, are we gonna do this now, or are you gonna send us? Is it something complicated?
I'm sending. It depends. Like I do it every day, so for me it's not very difficult. Some companies do it daily. Some others simply want our help. It's not really like a big deal for us. So it's I will send you later an email with the guidelines so everyone can see, and then you can judge, of course.
Yeah. And for the import, is there also somehow defined the information where walls can be connected to the facade?
Sorry, can you explain what do you mean where walls can be connected? Sorry.
Yeah, like obviously we can't join or make a junction between wall and facade on every position, but there is only specific positions where we have a facade profile. And is this also defined with the import?
Yes, of course. So yeah, sorry, I didn't understand at the beginning. Yes, of course, in the import, you define, for example, like what is even glass, what is not glass. The algorithm itself to calculate the light, and so the distance from windows, it needs to know what is glass. Because of course the algorithm is blind, doesn't see where the building is or how much light it enters. It has some understanding of when he knows that something is glass, allows the light to come in. And for example, even when you have, if you zoom out, 1 second, Jacqueline, please. This area, for example, this could be very wide or very small. So this is a kind of courtyard, but sometimes you have like light wells that are very narrow. So the algorithm doesn't know if that one has light or not. So we have a layer called the light source. That means light enters in that court. So we have buildings in which, I don't know if you think about the big buildings with a big court with like a skylight. In that case, you can place work areas that face inside the court. And then you have this layer called the light well that is simply saying there is light inside. Otherwise, the algorithm recognizes the outside of the building as bringing light in. This is very technical, but it's pretty much the way the algorithm works in the background.
Makes sense. But what I sent you was a DWG. And
yes, we work. The only thing is like instead of DWG, we import DXF. That is pretty much you save it from DWG. Pretty much it's just because let's say Autodesk is not very friendly with startups, so you need to use open source formats.
Okay. So when I have a DWG, can I set my DWG already with the parameters? So when I import, it's gonna recognize what's a window and walls and whatever, or do we put the file there and then we have to really say what's going on there in the
no, of course. So if the file is saved in the XF in this format and it follows the guidelines, so you upload the file, takes 3-4 seconds and is online, and it's exactly the way. If it's exactly like this. So if you call the stairwell, the wall, and so on, everything is fine. It goes straight. You upload it and it's there. Of course, if you call a staircase, you call it a spaceship or any other name that is not that one, it will tell you there is an error. It doesn't know that that one is actually a stairwell because simply it has a different name. Usually we help you on that. So in reality, that is a part of the way we usually work. So in reality, and the upload is if it's done correctly, and we have a lot of companies do that, it takes really 3 seconds, 4 seconds maximum. If it's not, of course, it shows errors. So you have a display showing like there are errors in the file, and you can see what it is. And
so we try one. We call you.
Yeah, no, don't worry. I do it all day, so all day long, pretty much.
One additional question to what Nicola said in your answer. You said we can, of course, define solid and glass elements in the facade, but only because it's solid, it doesn't mean that I can put a wall on this part of the facade. So is there a possibility to mention in the presettings how the grid line is, like 1.25 m or 1.35 m? Because like this, all the technical fit out is based, of course. So this would be easier, I think.
Yes, you can also do something else. I can activate for you. If you want, I can also activate. There is a function that not every client uses, but there is a PDF overlay. PDF overlay in case if you want to add, if you have a technical drawings of this building, like for example, you have like pipes, structure, more detailed element, you can literally overlay a PDF on top of this one, and you can check and verify the dimensions and all of this. So even if you can verify the generation of the floor plan and adjust it based on your on the detailed breakdown. So you can there are different ways in which you can get to that level of detail if you want.
I think for what, I don't know how the others sees this, but my idea is more to use your program as like a quick a quick pre-checking for a fit out. And
Yes.
I think it makes absolutely sense. But for me, it's clear that after making the pre-check with your program, you have, or we have to go in detail with our program, because what we talked about before,
Yes, of
like
course.
all this escape sizes of corridors, distance to the facade, this has to be elaborated, I think, in Archicad, or I don't know which program. So maybe this PDF is fantastic, and for sure it can be needed. But this the grid line in the facade, the question I had before, it doesn't work. So, I mean, there is not an option, right?
Not at this stage. Usually the grid line is generated by the building itself. So before, when I showed you like the split, it's because it recognizes these elements. So if the building is subdivided with that grid, so for example, if you have a repetition of let's say windows, for example, or pillars or structure outside, it will project this grid. That's why we don't usually display it, or we don't allow you to change it, because if that is in the building, it will be created by the grid. So if, for example, if you just, Jacqueline, just can you just click on generate without going to the, this takes a bit longer. I think it's 10 seconds. I tried before.
Can I have one quick question, Christina?
Of course, please.
Is there a possibility, because I do think that the question was how to do the grid ourselves, so it's generated within grid. Can we cheat it a little bit? So do I understand correctly that if we are making the material of the facade or layer of the facade in the DXF file, the glass one, it means basically that it will not connect the wall. And the wall one, it means that it connects, or it's a mullion.
Yes.
So actually we can make the mullions that we do not want to connect the walls like the glass ones, and
So
make it only grid with the wall material on the facade, and that's we are having like a possibility of our grid. Is it possible to make this? Does it make sense? Does it answer your question, Tiziana? What do you think?
Yes, but
So
for example, in this, sorry, Christian, if you take a look at this generated floor plan, if you zoom in, please, Jacqueline, in this violet 2 double rooms on the right side, yes, there is a wall positioned. I'm sure that this point is not possible because we have the 2 big pillars, and then in the middle we have one, and this is the Pfosten, which comes after 1 meter point 25 or 1 meter point 23, and the one where the wall touches the facade. I think this is only a kind of Öffnungsflügel. I'm sorry, Cristiano. It's a
window.
It's a window.
Oh, yes,
Window,
it's a window.
Oh God.
Öffnungsflügel. Oh my God, it's a fucking window.
No, but
this is how I talk at home.
Don't worry. No, but when you're here, like,
Achtung, Ada, eine Absturzsicherung. Sorry. Okay.
Basically, if you do have like mullions that you don't want to have possibility to connect your walls,
just remove them.
Remove them or make them like a glass on the glass
In reality, yes. Like for example, like you can, if you now click on the zone and you split, it will show you like. It will recognize those alignments. So in reality, in this case, we had the mullions as they were looking like structural elements.
And can I?
And then of course, sorry.
Can I delete a wall?
You can actually, if you click outside and you select these 2, you can merge them together. So delete, you don't delete, but you merge it, because it's always like you simply assign it to another room. So if you click 2, you have this. Sorry, I think you selected you click on 2. You click also on the other one on the right. And now you need to, yes, you select this 2. Yeah, there's a merge button here.
That's also good.
It's like in a science, like you can transform something, but you cannot destroy it. So you can, there is always this wall, you can assign it to one space or another one. And of course, you can just organize it in a different way. But sorry, Tiziana, I understood better what you meant. Yes, you can. It's mostly about, in this case, the building had a lot of these small elements, and we simply mark them as a grid. Also because it could be used as a grid, so in some cases, but we don't know every building. So it is not a difficult thing to change.
My furniture is glued to the other ones here. How do I separate?
Because you selected two. Because now you selected two, you just need to select one. Yes. Of course, you can if you click.
User error.
So if you exactly, if you click twice, you go from the group to the single workstation. And for example, if you you can rotate. If you click here, if you click on this one, you drag it down. Click. Yep. Drag. Click and hold. Yeah. Don't worry, it's the first time it happens. If you click and you click and hold that line and you drag it down.
Which line?
There's a circle. You see, click there. That icon, yes. Click and hold and drag it down. Yes, it will mirror
Okay.
Sorry, it's just I mean, every time it's when it's the first time, it's normal to have this, but you can adjust the spaces very quickly. In this case, for example, recognize there is an obstacle here. You can, for example, split this one into two, and it will refresh.
Can I move elements with a like numeric input? For example, 1 meter from the wall or 2 meters from the wall?
No, that is not possible. Usually, it is a good question. We could add it in the future. But it's more like a feature for. Actually, I have to say it's the first time I've been asked this. But yeah, it is something we could work on. Usually, like the difficult part for that one is like. I think it's more like related to BIM that you have this kind of questions, because usually like when to move these objects, you always need to define the direction where you're moving it. And it's a bit complicated to do it.
Yes, but maybe this is the limit of the program, which is absolutely fine, I think, because there should be a limit. Otherwise, you don't need architects anymore. So we have to work. Yeah. This is what I said before. After making the fit out with this one, we have to or the proof, then we have to work in detail.
Yes, usually, like I would say, all our customers use Layout for example, agree to a design with a customer. Like, so you can organize and even invite a client in a meeting room. You design together the rough organization of the space, and you can do it live. The difference between doing it at home in the office and then send it, then you have to do a meeting in which you discuss if the client likes it or not. Then you go back. This process is something that usually takes several weeks. And we have customers literally doing this on the spot. And so they download the file, they send it to the architect, and for example, the architect can finalize it. You don't have to do 20 test fits. You already have the organization of the space, how the space can be organized. That is how most of our customers use it. Even architects just simply hate to do meetings. And they really say like they save about 80% of their time, because in reality, it becomes a lot more interactive with them. So you can actually be interacting with the customer, in which they feel they design something, even if you know that they are not designers. And the idea is like they can participate, and if they're happy with that, you can just get faster options.
You can also prove that there's no possibility of fitting additional 20 benches in there.
Yes, that is another big question that we usually get. Like it is saving quite a bit of time. So we have a customer in the Netherlands, for example, that said they used to do one floor plan in 10 hours. And now I do 10 floors in 1 hour. And he simply had to reduce his meetings by 80%. That has been quite, and they are architects. They are like a design build in the Netherlands. And to us, that is a kind of, yes, mixed games, you need to have more space. That is a bit too small. There's no space for example, if you try to put a ping pong table, there's no space. But if you select two areas, or for example, if you select this area here, yes, you need to have the same type of area to merge them. So if you have, for example, you want the blue one, you can select these two. So if you select these two.
Okay. This too?
Yeah. Yes, now change. and make, for example, like a ping pong pool table, like a recreation. And you can put table tennis, and then you now can merge, because once they are both on the same level, you can merge. So to merge two spaces, they need to be the same, because otherwise, if you have a meeting room and a closed office, which one should become what? Because I mean, the computer doesn't know what you want, right?
Okay.
So you can build. We have a customer in the US actually. That's quite funny. They do. They do a lot of ping pong tables in their offices. They have them spread around a lot. So it's actually the type of office where I would like to work. So. But yeah, you can change topologies. Like, for example, there is a T-point, and if you have, for example, a kitchen, there is an area where you can put a kitchen. You can just, for example, let's say you can put a kitchen here. You can change it. Yeah, you can do it there. So if you go to Office Services,
here, you mean?
Yeah, it's whatever you prefer. Okay. You can just change, and you go to Office Services, and then you have T-point. And this one will give you like a kitchen. Of course, you can place it against the wall, because I mean, it depends. You can have also a standing kitchen, but yeah, you can pretty much organize it and place it. Usually, where you have a core space, you can place it. You can rotate. Actually, coming, you're quite lucky, because next week we're going to add quite a few things. One of them is like you can select a single object. So you can select chairs, you can select, for example, a plant, you can move the plant. It's on next Monday or Tuesday, we deploy this feature. That is, for a lot of people, it's quite fun, so they can create entire new sets of topologies.
Very cool. I like it.
And of course, you can save here. This is important. So whenever you create options, you can click on the star and you can add it to your favorites. So you can call it whatever you want. Yeah. And this will be renamed. Of course, your file will have a name. So it will be stored. Of course, this file is a bit bigger, but it will be here. And then if you go into favorites, on the top, you will see the option that you saved.
I have another question concerning the kitchens. Is it possible to let the program know where to place kitchens according to where I can have water? Because
yeah, it is.
It looks quite nice, a kitchen in the middle of the room, but it's not that realistic.
So no, of course, the idea is this one, like you know yourself where you can, because of course the algorithm doesn't know where are the pipes for water. So in reality, it's important to get you to control. You are the one anyway using the app, so you know where you can. But based on that, yes, you need to know, of course, where there is water. It's beautiful, the kitchen, wherever you want, but of course, I know myself. I know it's you're right. It's usually like more to prevent. We give you the option to use it, but we don't know always where this can happen.
I have also one more question, because I just tried that with saving with the star as a favorite, but when you go out again, then it's deleted. How is it actually possible to save one of those test fits?
So
and to find it again later?
So okay. So I think this one was yours, test one.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So first of all, yes, sorry. It's always saved. And I panicked 1 second. What do you mean it got deleted? Sorry, I got worried 1 second. So if you, let's say we start over. Jacqueline, can you click on workshop? And yes, don't save.
Can I save the changes I made in a favorite?
Yes. So if you go on save, okay, I will help you. I will get there. So if you click on save, you can now, because you saved before, but you made changes, you can or override, or you can do save as, like any architecture, any file, literally on Word, on anything. So you can save and it will replace the one you did before, or you create a new option like test fit one, test fit 1 version 2, or for example, more meeting rooms or less meeting rooms, everything that you want. And if you click on workshop, so we start from the empty floor. So in case, for example, you want to review your favorites, you can go into 3 dots and you see favorites. So you don't need to enter inside the floor. You can just click there and visualize all the options that your team saved. So everyone in your team is doing maybe all the options. Think about 3 people on your company are doing one floor plan. All of you can save the options and review each other's work.
Okay, so can I work like she's working on this one? Can I work parallel? No.
You can, it's not, not at the same time, so you will not see each other's mouse in that sense. But for example, you can open this file, make changes, and then save as, for example.
Okay.
So in reality, you can open the option will be opened. You can edit the option. For example, let's say you did one design, then someone else joins and say, okay, I think Jacqueline did a great design. I just don't like this part, or maybe you are not in the office. Someone else has to make some changes. They can do it on the spot. And then you can make changes and just design them, save it, save as like a variant of Cristiano, for example.
Okay.
So you can literally change quite a bit of the design. And now, once you're here, if you click here, so here, those are the export formats. So if you click there, you can export the CSV. CSV is the Excel. So everything that you see on the statistics, every single page, so the areas, zones, the carbon footprint calculation, the cost. If you click on export the CSV, please. Here, you will be prompted with what you want to export. Are the percentages, are the areas, all of them is an Excel file. Excel file is simple. You can choose what you want to keep or save or adjust. It's just a very basic CSV. And you can just, you can just open it and visualize like simply like, I never tried actually on Mac. But yes, it is a CSV file, so it's open normally on anything that you see. Like there's a table, spreadsheet with like the breakdown of every single area. So you have data based on the design that you made. So you can just track what are the areas, the percentages of occupancy of that floor. So you can have floor plan number 1. You download the CSV, so you have a floor plan and all the data connected to it. So you can actually keep it as a data comparison. Then if you click on the same button as before, on the export, you can download the CAD file. The XF is the CAD file. The CAD file will show all the blocks, everything that you see here. You will be able to open it as a CAD file. So every block is an instance. So it means that if you want to replace a table, if you want to replace a chair, changing one will change the tables and chairs everywhere in the furniture, in the floor plan. So if you have a different type of chair you want to use, it will be one click, one change, and it will replace everything. And yeah, this is another one. And the last one is the PDF. So right, yeah. And PDF, simple. You can create PDF presentations. So you can, for example, like I think someone removed the company logo, but you can bring it back. If you have a company logo, it will appear here. Where? So if and that part. So on that part, you will have a company logo. If you upload a company logo in your profile, as I showed you before, like I found the company logo, but you can have it. Yeah, it depends if someone, I think it has been removed. I cannot see.
Yeah, we can test.
Yeah, anyway, so yeah, it appears there usually. So if you want, you can click here on the show statistics. And there you can actually like choose, for example, areas. You want to show the area breakdown, the percentages.
Ah, that's cool.
Sorry, if you scroll, if you move your mouse down, it's here. Sorry, you have your screen has a different ratio, so it's a bit of a bigger screen, I think.
Ah, okay.
So,
image.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't tell on the screen. So here, for example, you can drag and drop an image. For example, let's say you want to have the outside of the building. You can drag and drop an image, and this will be your presentation. It will have your logo here. You can type different, for example, like a project name. That's why I call the project name workshop, but of course you can rename it, change it to anything else. And then, for example, you can add a page. For example, if you click there, and you go up, you can change, of course, the text. But let's say here you want to hide the furniture, but you want to show the architectural dimensions. So you can click on dimensions. Or you want to add another page. For example, if you go down, you can add another page. And for example, you want to add, let's say, remove furniture, but you want to add, for example, area, zone labels, and number of people, tax. So if you zoom in, you will see that every area will have a certain amount of people. Let's say a meeting room. You can also resize the dimensions. So you can actually see a breakdown of spaces. If you want to reset the view, you have the button on the top left. So you can choose if you want to visualize certain like that, or refresh, and it will go back to the fit. And of course, you can download this file and export it and everything else. And if you click here, there's also another thing that is actually quite cool. So once you save the file, you can create a shareable link. So instead of doing a PDF, you can actually do something more interactive that in most cases is more useful. You see these 3 dots. Here you can do the same things, but you can also share. And if you click on share, it will allow you to share the option. Yes, this one, because you made some changes, so you can save the new option. And here you can decide for how long this link will work. So you can set this project, is this designed for the next month, but then the link will expire. You can choose any date. And then sorry.
The expiration date is also linked to our license, right? Probably.
No, it's up to you how much you want to have it for. Of course, I wouldn't suggest to have a link for like 10 years because it doesn't really matter that much. It's not with your license. You can keep it also for later. I mean, this workshop we are doing together is to give you a chance to test the app and see if it helps. But of course, it's not. I'm not gonna check if you're using this one for the next whatever time. Okay. And so here you can choose what you want to share. Let's say you want to hide the cost and CO2 because maybe you don't want to panic to make your client panic before it's too late. So you can choose if to show these things or not. And then once you are ready, you generate a link. Yeah. And then just can you open a new tab?
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah. And just paste the link. So this one is something that you can send to anyone in the world. They will be able to, how's it called? They will be able to open the link wherever they are in the world, from a phone, from a tablet, literally everywhere. And they can do all the things you do apart from editing. So they will not be able to edit, for example, change a room, because anyway, you're the designer. You don't want them to change things. But they will be able to spin around, test, change, jump inside the floor plan and visualize things.
And can I set the material?
Not in this case. So there is a function that I can show you on my side of the computer because I have superpowers. As a super user, I have some function that other people don't have. So for some customers, we have AI renders included. So AI renders is something that you can type what you want. So you jump into the 3D. You can type something that you want, and you get AI renders based on that.
Okay. And can I have a white model instead? Oh.
It's a good question. We got recently, actually, quite a few people asked. It is something that we will do. Just it has to be in a first quarter of next year, but it is something that we do. It's mostly like for let's say schematics and graphics. So yes, it is something we will add. We didn't have time to add it this end of the year, but it is something that will come. And I can show you something. You see, remember before we were talking about the settings for the parameters for the algorithm, how many maximum occupancy. You set a value, but then you made some changes in the app. And these changes, of course, impacted the occupancy. So this one is above the 300 amount of people that you set.
Cool. That's also
So,
cool for analysis.
yeah, so this one is telling you, so the algorithm itself will never do this. So the algorithm, it's not allowed to place more than, in this case, 300. You see here, there's a 300. But if you manually select everything and say, make it into workstations, it's not gonna tell you like, no, you cannot do it. It will just show you that there is a mistake. But then it's up to you. You're the designer and you are the one in control of that. So
and
it
Cristiano,
cannot.
for example, sorry, I have one question. And for example,
Please.
if we have different rental units per floor, can we define that in parameters, or we need to import different fragments of the floor plan and give the parameters separately?
So if you have different units and you want to work just on one unit, did I understand correctly?
Yes, like for example, if we have on one floor 4 rental units.
Okay. Can you go back? I will show you now. Can you go back to the first tab? Yes. Okay. This one is the one where you want to create something. Okay. Yes. Start. You can go here, workshop, because now we are inside the favorites. So I was going to go to this description now. So in reality, the perfect timing for the question. So if you open one floor, do you remember on the top you have the settings for circulation, but there is also this one. So multi-tenancy, if you click there, will allow you to create the rentals or the different sub units that you want to work with. So let's say I'm just giving an example here. So if you click on, you need to activate it first. So if you click on that one, okay. Now if you click once here, here, and you pretty much follow the perimeter of this area. You don't need to be inside. You can just be even outside, you see? And you go up and then you close again. This one will be the unit called the unit 1. You can save it. So if you save it, you have a one tenant rental unit. Depends how you want to call it. In this case, now this one is selected. If you set the preferences or you click on generate, it will generate a floor plan for that space. Only for that, the selected one. So now that you see that there are the black lines around, it means it's selected. So if you click on generate here on the left side, it will generate only for that rental unit or a tenant, for example. We didn't bother now to put the settings, but it will just show you that specific tenant. And of course, if you go into 3D, the 3D will only have that area, the rest will be empty. So it will allow you to do the focus on that one. Does it answer your question?
And can we have all 4 tenants, for example, at the same time in the same plan?
Not in that way. It's one by one, simply because usually like it's organized in a different way. Different people can do it at the same. For example, different people could work at the same time on this, but not at the same time. But it is something we can integrate as well. Some customers asked for that, but it's always a bit of a balance of what is more urgent than other things.
You showed us this possibility of freezing one part. Can we not work like this? Like
yes.
freeze the parts?
Absolutely, yeah. You can also do in that way. Absolutely, yes. So if you want to work on the full floor, you can also do it in this way. This one, of course, the only difference is like here, you select only one part and you get the net area for that part. While if you have the full floor, it will show you the full area for everything. It depends. We work with different use cases. In some cases, they only do one tenant at a time. In some cases, they do the full floor that then they subdivide. But this one is just to give you a bit of a. It's difficult to make everyone happy. We try to do a lot of different options, but this one in general can be a good starting point.
Yeah, I think it's a good. How can I say? It's a priority because you have a lot of probably often this situation. Yeah.
And of course, one thing, if you go on export, so if you go on the button here for export and you do PDF, so the PDF file here you can skip, will be zoomed on this space. But then if you click on full floor, it will allow you also to have the full floor. If you click back on that on the same button, it will just be do a just the zoomed in of the floor. You can actually add the page and have one page with the full floor, because sometimes the client wants to see only one area. Where is their area? But they want to see also their area in respect to the full floor.
And if I make the different tenants, can I put them in the same PDF?
Not right now. No, I have to say no on that one. Sorry.
We have to merge ourselves.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I promise we are working on many things, but yes, this is it's a good point. I mean, this feedback is useful for us, because anyway, we are adding. I can tell you every 2 weeks we add the new things, so it will be. It's usually like based on this kind of feedback we get.
Okay.
Yeah, of course, your company logo is always like on the bottom left. Is usually where you place.
Okay.
Yeah, those are the most I would say all the options at the moment, apart from AI renders. If you want, I can show you the way it works. The AI render, I can show you on my account if you want, if you're curious.
Yes.
But it is something that I usually like. It is for some clients, because of course it is we're work in progress. We are improving, but some customers wanted to be a tester of this. So I will just show you. I will share 1 second the screen.
Can I ask you just one question? Can we?
Please, of course.
Can we export this 3D as an IFC file?
Soon, yes. So it's going to be in early next year. So we are experimenting with it. So in reality, we already can export in IFC. It's just like we are testing, because we are getting feedback from customers that are using it, and they tell us like, okay, can you group files in a certain way? So yes, and it will happen earlier next year. We are working on literally that at the moment. At the moment, we will work on IFC. But then the idea is to use SketchUp for the 3D, basic 3D, and also like possibly 3DM. But 3DM is a bit more complicated. I don't know if you use the 3DM, but it's a different type of format.
Okay. Good.
I will just show, if you're curious, the AI renders. They're fairly cool to see, because it's also like an experiment we did 1 year ago, and we developed our own pretty much way to do it. I think can you see my screen?
I think I'm still sharing. Do I have to?
I don't know if you can see my screen.
Yes. Yeah.
Can you see my screen, my mouse? Okay.
Yes.
So pretty much like I mean, I didn't spend time. I just clicked and generate the first floor plan. So for example, like you can just go here. This is like here. For example, I want to go closer here, and I want to for example, sorry, just click. I go here, double click. For example, I want to go here, and here the stars. This is the file at the moment. I can show them. I don't know why.
AI is calling.
I don't know why it's a bit slow, but okay. It's wooden floor. And does the render usually like 20 seconds or so on. So like we had some customer doing this 20 seconds. So reality go 0 to full floor in something like a few seconds. So it is quite quite helpful if you're using it renders in your daily day-to-day work.
Like that. Scroll. Oh, Jackie. You broke the internet, Jackie. Das Internet kaputt gemacht.
I think he was generating, er war etwas generieren. Ne? Ich glaube, er ist ausgeschaltet. Er ist nicht mehr da. Ah, yeah. Ah, you are on mute.
Do you remember what I mentioned before the update? It literally crashed my Windows crashed literally in this moment. So sorry for that. I will just try to share again the screen. Yeah, I will have to check out what happened with the screen. But so you can just type, for example, you want to have standard, let's say wooden floor, for example, you just click on generate. And this one is pretty much creating like different combinations of some options. Of course, they are not very strict in terms of like the output. We are improving quite a bit. So we're doing some experiments to, for example, change the ceiling if you want to have like, for example, more industrial type of ceiling. So for example, for the one more like pipes, see the pipes and so on. So we are doing some testing over there. But we have some customer, for example, that use this one to, instead of creating a Pinterest boards to give a styling of a space, they can actually just very quickly give a bit of an idea, a rough idea of how the space can look like. So it is fairly fun usually. Like, so I hope so far it was explaining quite a bit of how the app works, but yeah, it is important. It works for you as well.
While we wait, I just have one question. Kajetan mentioned that the furniture, they are designed there. They are from Vitra, I guess. Is it correct?
Yes, the furniture at the moment is Vitra. We are yes, all the furniture in the app are Vitra based.
Okay.
Apart from a few that are Technion, just because I mean some furniture by Technion are prettier than the one from Vitra, but most of them are Vitra. It's a bit of a mix between Vitra and Technion, yes.
Okay.
But it is pretty much like a fairly like mixed. At the moment, we are going to add also more. Like we have some conversation with some producers of furniture that they want to display their own. It's don't have to take it as the final output that you want everything to be Vitra, because it's also gonna be the most expensive office. We were talking with Kajetan last time. It's gonna be the most expensive office in the world. The idea is also like you can also simply replace objects, because in reality we display a chair, and then you can choose that this chair can be any chair in the world, can be an IKEA chair, can be a Miller Knoll chair, can be any other company. The whole point is this one. I want you to get to a certain level of confidence in the organization of the space, and then you can decide what you want to do with it. I hope it makes sense.
Were you showing the renderings? I didn't see.
Ah, yes. Sorry, I showed it before. I can show it again. Yeah, it is usually like it's a quite fun way for us to display like at least normally like you always go for what's it called? Usually it takes a bit of time to go and go into rendering. And the idea is this one: within the app you can just click generate the floor, do a few changes, and then go and create like renders. They are not always perfect because we are improving quite a lot of things. But yes, of course, it's something like we are testing. So just to get to a certain level in which you know that instead of you can create a vision with a customer, so the client can see something, doesn't have to be perfect because you say in advance, of course, this is something we generated now. You will probably not have this view, specific view out there, but it's to give this kind of idea of the design. So this, yeah, usually takes a bit, something like 20 seconds. That it is anyway like a part of the design. Do you have any other question in the meantime?
Not at the moment, probably afterwards when we try. Ooh.
So of course it's not perfect, but it's in general giving you like I mean, I always like the like a kind of a New York style background, but of course it's mostly to give a vision of the space. It doesn't have to be perfect, of course. And if you're in the center of Munich, it's not exactly the same. But yeah, it is a bit different type of visualization of the space. It's more like to give an idea of the view, but of course, not all of this is perfect. I mean, if you zoom in the keyboard, is not maybe the perfect keyboard, but it's mostly like a consideration. You can download this file, you can save the file, so you can actually create this kind of views that are mostly like done in a matter of seconds, and you can create this kind of let's say, idea of visualization of the space. But then, of course, the design can change. So, I mean, I hope this helps. But of course, this one is a function that is mostly like under construction. We're improving it quite a lot, but we had to build our own algorithm, so it took quite some time to get here. But yes, it's more like a pet project of mine that I enjoy a bit doing it because it helps with the generation of spaces.
Looks good.
Okay. Please, any question?
No.
Okay.
You presented very good. Nobody very well. Nobody has a question.
I mean, of course, any question now from now on, you have 2 weeks of time. You can test as much as you want, generate as many options as you want, all of you. So everyone that has the access can generate options on your floor plan that I uploaded for you, or any other option that we uploaded in the layout as floor plans. And then you can choose after 2 weeks. We simply have a feedback call where we simply sit down together and say, okay, is this good enough? Is it not good enough? One thing on the bottom right of the app, there is a question mark. And that is also like to help you. It's like pretty much like both a feedback button, but also like there are guides on certain functions. If you're looking for a specific function you cannot find, you just look there. And there are more, it's more like how do I change the company colors, or how do I create a new type of room, for example, and guides you through the options. And yeah, after this, any question, feel free, you can send me emails. So any question, please reach out. You should have my email, but of course, we can, at the moment, we don't allow you to upload other floors, because of course it was a part of the workshop, is only the one you uploaded, but on that one you have unlimited generations. So if you want to create 500 options, feel free. It's all included in the workshop. And then in 2 weeks time, we sit down together. Hey, Cristiano, we loved it, or we hate it. We think this one will simply bury us, or not. We love it. We want to use it every day. And the whole point is this one. This one is not an option. This software is not to replace architects. The whole point is this one. We don't even aim to get to that level of complexity, but it's about having something that helps you to speed up and cut the amount of time you spend with clients and to agree on the design. Then after that, of course, it's all about sales and how to do the best design possible for your clients. So that is actually the way we present and sell our software out there.
Yeah. I found it very, very practical, and that we can also share the rooms ourselves. It's also very fast. It goes very fast, very simple. I found it very cool. I mean, of course, we have to test.
Of course. I mean, the whole point is that one. That's why usually we ask you to share the screen, because of course I know where to click buttons. I know that how does it feel to drag some elements, but the whole point is this one. Usually people after 1 hour of using the app are proficient. We had the people that have never designed anything in their life. I'm not joking. We had a team of brokers in London, and they design all the time. They are one of our biggest users, and they design hundreds of floors. And I have to say they learned in literally 1 hour, and they never designed before. So if you're an architect, you have a bit of experience, usually it's a lot faster, that process, because you're used to use other software for design. So the whole point is this one: make it easier for you also to actually share this with other customers, because the customers actually at the end are the one that pay. They pay the bill. So if they are happy and you save probably several weeks of work designing options overnight, it is quite a good saving. At least that is the way it works, at least.
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
Jackie, Jackie, we'll talk about 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, we have New Year's Eve, and the office will be closed. So
yeah, of course. Makes sense.
Are you gonna organize, Jackie? Shall we do an internal review, if you like, before we have another meeting and give feedback or something? I mean, we're basically starting in Munich. We're starting on the 7th or 8th of January. We're back. And Jackie, everybody could play around a little bit, and stuff, try it, and then we give some feedback, maybe the second week in January or something. Jackie, can you organize a internal meet, maybe, and then we have a big call, or maybe we can have a reduced call. I think it doesn't have to be everybody in the call. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I was gonna go through all the steps, also importing in ArchiCAD, checking how it looks like. And if someone else also wants to test, it would be good, because then we have other point of views as well.
Yeah.
And then we can just speak internally. As you said, we make a meeting. Now I don't know, who we should invite? Where would be who would be testing the whole thing as well with me?
Well, I think it makes sense that everybody who wants to play around with it plays around with it and does I mean, it's only 1.5 weeks until we break for Christmas. And then we can, so in that time, I don't know how much time people have, play around with it, test it, have a look at it, and then we collect feedback in the second week of January, from the 7th of January when we're back. And then maybe in the week after that, we have a meeting with maybe 2 or 3 people to give a sort of concentrated feedback. On the software and on our thoughts and so on. I think that kind of scenario would make sense, wouldn't it?
I think it's great, and can I also recommend? I mean, eventually I can also extend I understand. Actually, usually like we do 2 weeks time. I didn't think pretty much like my schedule is pretty much until the 30th. So even Christmas time I will be probably clicking. But eventually, like, we can expand the workshop also longer, so it's not a problem. Of course, you can also have like initial conversations, like a first feedback, and then we can reconvene in January. It's not a problem for me. Of course, I'm happy, and it's almost Christmas for everyone, so it's not forcing everyone to be working on a layout for Christmas. That is not really what I plan. But happy to reconvene in January, of course. I want usually I recommend that you don't expand it too much, because otherwise people start to lose focus on the task, or maybe they forget, and that is also one thing that is important.
Yeah. Until when we can use it, so that